Olá a todos, bem-vindos a mais uma conversa da Look Mag. Hoje tenho o enorme prazer de receber a banda dinamarquesa KATLA. Eles vêm de Copenhaga e vão lançar o seu próximo álbum já no dia 21. Sobre isso e sobre mais algumas coisas que eu tenho alguma curiosidade, tenho comigo o Rasmus, que é o baterista, e o Theis, que é o baixo e o vocalista da banda. My dear friends, I just welcome you in Portuguese, but now I will welcoming you in English. I'm very happy to have you here, and the motive is very important because you are releasing your debut album. So, welcome to our talks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
I have to start from the beginning and to ask you, how did this project come about?
You take that, Rasmus.
Yeah.
Rasmus.
So we started writing the album pretty much when Theis joined KATLA. We had a few releases before Theis joining, and then when there was a former guy in the band called David, or the former bassist, I mean, who quit the band, and Theis jumped on as the new bassist, and that was when we started creating the album. So it was kind of in a line with the new lineup of KATLA, the new identity.
Rasmus, and the band himself. How long did the band lived before Theis came into the project?
I don't know exactly how many years, but it was definitely like 1 year, and then Corona, and then year after Corona.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
You are not sons of Corona. You are stepsons of the life before the Corona, as many other musicians and bands in the world.
Yeah.
Theis, I don't know if I'm telling your name correctly, because it's different. Theis, yeah.
Theis.
Theis.
I prefer Theos.
Yeah, we can go with Theos.
I can go with Theos in a Portuguese way.
Yeah.
When they invited you to come to the band, it was an invitation, or it was just something from the universe that put yourself together with these two guys?
I think it was the universe that brought us together. I was fortunate enough to have played 2 stand-in shows with KATLA before being asked to join. The previous bassist became a father in 2022.
Yeah.
So I assisted on two concerts and got a taste of what KATLA life was like. So when Rasmus called me one day in August and was like, "Hey man, David is out. What do you say?"
And you thought, it's my chance. It's my chance.
Yeah. That was a pretty no-brainer. I had to ask my wife, of course, but I knew what I was getting into, and I was really wanted to be in what Mark and Rasmus had created.
Rasmus, I have to ask this. What does KATLA mean?
It's the name of a dragon from a Swedish, we're Danish, but from a Swedish children's book called The Lionheart Brothers. Yeah.
And why did you choose this name for the band?
It's because it's a very famous children's story in Scandinavia. Like if you're from Scandinavia, you know this story. You grow up with it, and there is just really heavy symbolism in the dragon of KATLA. It's a she dragon that's being controlled by this evil guy, the real tyrant, And there's like a lot of really cool symbolism in the story about how we perceive dragons as evil, but actually, it's humans and their intentions, and in this case, like it's like fascism, pretty much what he has going on. So it has just like a really strong, yeah.
After this talk, this conversation, I'm going to find out everything about KATLA.
Yeah, you should watch the movie for sure. It's really good.
Yes, yeah. I will. I have to tell you before Theos. I keep going, Theos. No?
It's just
You
fine.
you have a new name, a new reborn name. I hope your mother don't be sad with me, but it's
I
okay.
think that will be just fine.
I have to ask Rasmus, how was the process of evolution of the sound of the band, and how do you characterize it today? In the beginning, before COVID, was the same sound that we can hear today in the record that you are going to release, or it's very different?
I mean, I believe that there's definitely some you can recognize that it's the KATLA sound, like pretty much every release we've done. But like, there's no doubt that Scandinavian Pain, like the upcoming
Yeah, yeah,
debut album, is by far the best we've ever done, and is different. And we're experimenting a lot more with different genres. It was a way more like natural, and we don't give a fuck about genres process this time than before. And also, I think when you start up as a band, you always have idols. You have bands that you look up to, and you have things that you're inspired by. So I think, like the first couple of releases was definitely us trying to sound like someone we're not, right? And I feel like that we've finally achieved like the true essence and the true KATLA sound with Scandinavian Pain.
Now I have to be curious. When you began, who were those bands and those musicians that you look up to?
Right. So when we decided to start a band, we're all like really heavily into hardcore and black metal
Okay.
and pretty much everything that is in Scandinavia, death metal as well.
Yeah.
But there was this really, really cool wave of doom metal at that time. It was like this really heavy stoner, doomy, like the beginning of Desert Fest, and like Roadburn booked a lot
Yeah.
of these bands as well. So there was this like a band like Monolord from Sweden, heavy influenced by them. Electric Wizard, Sleep, Conan, Mantar from Germany. So like, yeah, Dope Lord as well, Dope Throne as well. So yeah, that was definitely the bands that we were like, this is like what they're doing is really cool. We want to do the same.
But now you've changed everything.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, do you have any special band that you appreciate today?
Yeah. But I think now like we're really good at just taking inspiration from pretty much everything that goes on in our lives, and it doesn't have to be music
Yeah.
necessarily. But yeah, for example, my favorite band is the Beach Boys.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's not that I'm saying that we're, musically inspired by the Beach Boys, but there's definitely stuff that they do that I find super cool as a group that, that I am inspired by at least. So I think like for now, I think it's more of getting inspired by energy than necessarily a sound.
Yeah, I do understand. Theis, and you are a Beach Boy guy?
If,
Actually not, but we talked about this in another interview where we had to recommend records that we're listening to a lot.
Oh, really?
And none of us mentioned any heavy music.
Oh.
So that's yeah. I mentioned I'm listening a lot to a band called Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners, which is some like indie atmospheric stuff. It's very nice and very soothing. But like Rasmus mentioned, it's a yeah. I think we're drawing on a lot of inspiration on a creative process and creating things more than trying to be a doom band or trying to be in a certain way, and that's it's a very nice process to be in as a band.
Do you think it's important for a musician to have access to all kinds of genders of music and styles so he can process more and be more creative in his own sound? Do you think it's important to do that?
I do feel that very much. I think your palette will develop even further when listening to a variety of music and sources of inspiration rather than just being monofocused on one type. I'm not saying that can't produce something, but it's in my opinion, it just gives you a more 3D picture, or it's yeah. I think that's very important.
And the voice, Theus, the man with a big beard. When did you begin singing? And the bass and the singing. Normally, we see the bass guy or girl a little bit to the right or to the left, and the vocal in the front. And
Exactly.
you managed to do both.
Yeah, but that was a requirement of starting in the band. But we're doing things very unconventionally, because
Yeah.
Rasmus is the singing drummer. So it's yeah. There is and it was I remember I asked when I did, I think when we did the stand-in shows, and I was like, so what about all the vocals that David did? And Rasmus was just like, well, you're doing them.
Ah! Did
Okay.
have you ever sung before, or you didn't?
Not in this way. I've done some backup, shouting and such, but not in a lead style. But it felt very. I had a little hurdle to cross, but then it just felt really nice to scream my lungs out with Rasmus in the rehearsal space, and yeah. So it has grown I've grown very fond of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how do you combine the two voices and the two instruments that are both of the instruments are very powerful in a band? So the drum and the bass for me are very very powerful. Are the really basement of a band, shall we say like this?
Mm.
How do you combine the two instruments and both of your voices? I never saw you on stage, so I have to ask this.
Of course. Well, live, we're making it. We're trying to make an effort to always get Rasmus as far up front on stage,
Okay.
to kind of break the normal, angle that you stand in. And I don't. Did we ever talk about how we should sing on this album, Rasmus? I don't think we ever discussed like you do this and you do that.
It was kind of organic, huh?
I,
Yeah, yeah, but I think, I think all of it is kind of is, and it's because it's obviously it's fucking up with a lot of traditional dynamics the way we do it already. So I think the cool thing with the writing process of the songs, and also where we put vocals or who should sing what and stuff, it's because of the deconstruction of like the normal setup of what you would consider a rock band's normal setup. Because of that deconstruction, it gives us so much more free space in the terms of also using the vocals as an instrument. I know that you've heard that a million times before, but it's, especially in our case, it's very unique in the sense of that, like playing an instrument that is so much the heartbeat, which bass
Yeah.
and drums is, of a band. We are then allowing ourselves to be way more experimental in that part. And with that part of it being so loose on the process of writing it, that's also why it came so naturally, I think, because it was where it felt right to sing, and where it felt right to do like we call it ping pong voices, like back and forth, or like doing it at the same time. It was just all the places where that makes sense. It was kind of obvious for us, or like natural at least. Whereas, when you have, the traditional lead singer, that's
Yeah.
normally the last thing you do in a band. They put their vocals in, and then they can go and shine, whatever. But their
Did
thought process is just different.
did you rehearsal a lot before you managed to do the record, or it was like organic in the studio also?
I would say it was surprisingly little that we had to rehearse with Theis joining the band. Like getting him into the KATLA realm, if you may, if you will, was such an easy and natural process. So I would say, yeah, I think when Theis joined the band officially and we had the first official rehearsal, I'm pretty sure that's when we got Taurus done, which is the first single of the album.
Yeah, the first single.
Yeah.
Did anything change in the sound of the band with Theis? I'm trying.
Yeah, that's so fine.
When he joined you, or did he? Or the sound was just the same, and it just with the music, with the instrument and the voice was all the contribution, not all, the big contribution that he brought to the band.
I think I tried to hit something KATLA in my bass sound,
Yeah.
but of course, just by me playing different than David used to do, and my voice is different than him, that automatically puts a spin on things. So I was actually quite cautious of trying to mess with the KATLA formula, because it's working. It's very good, and what Rasmus and Mark has created, and there was it needed no fixing. So I just wanted to step in and fill my part, and then not do as I was told, but not try and take over anything, and just join in instead.
Join in.
Yeah.
A contribution.
And I think that's
tell it.
Yeah, and I think what definitely made this process easier was also that Theis didn't join after we finished an album.
Of course.
Joining after we've done, like, or even just half an album, like for him,
exactly.
like, to go in, hear 5 songs, be like, you have to do 5 songs with us in the creative process that's going to sound like this. There's no rules when he joined.
No.
Yeah, it would be different if it come like that. The album will be released, I have here, on the 21st of March via Napalm Records.
Yeah.
How did this partnership came along? Why Napalm Records?
Well, again, a lot of the things, it's like starts with kind of
the universe again.
No, yeah, the universe. No, but when I joined, we sort of like, what do we want to do? And we wanted to play shows, and we wanted to play shows outside of Denmark.
Yeah.
So we talked about how do we achieve that, and we got in touch with Napalm Events, and ended up signing with Torsten, with playing shows in mind. We actually we hadn't thought of the album at all at that point. And then we got to, Torsten came to Denmark and saw us play a festival show, a really cool festival show in a prison.
Wow.
Called the festival, if you translate it, it's called Death Row. It's really nice festival. But we played that show. Torsten saw us, took a short mobile clip, sent it to his friend in Napalm Records, and that got us introduced. And fortunately, he was like, "Yeah, I like that."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that sort of, and then we started going back and forth, and it was very nice getting that energy from Sebastian. That is our contact at Napalm Records, and it ended up with us signing.
That's so cool, and it is an open door to the world, because we know everybody knows the publisher, and it's an open door, and you are going to do a tour and everything else. We'll talk about that in a little bit more, but it is wonderful.
Yeah.
Why I have to ask this? Of course, everybody asks me that. You have to ask, why Scandinavian Pain? Because here in Portugal, we all look at you on the northern side of Europe as healthy, rich, with a lot of culture, educated, everything. And we in the southern Europe, okay, we have sunshine. Okay, we have the beach. Okay, we have good wine. I saw Rasmus drinking some wine.
Italian, I'm sorry, it's not Portuguese. I'm sorry.
Oh, the next time you have to drink Portuguese.
I have a really good Portuguese wine pusher in Copenhagen. So I actually drink a lot of Portuguese wine. So yeah,
We appreciate that.
not only port wine, I appreciate good Portuguese red wine.
Yes, we have very, very good wine.
You're strong, very strong, and underrated wine nation for sure. Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We should send some to America, to the White House, and make him drunk. So I think everything would be cooler.
Yeah, or maybe just send something very acidic to that idiot and then send us some nice wine. That's a better idea.
It's a deal. It's a deal, Rasmus. It's a deal. It's a deal. But as I was saying, we all look to you in the north of Europe, like as I describe it. And when you put an album with his name, Scandinavian Pain, it made us wonder, because Finland, I think Finland is rated as the most happiest country in the world, and Denmark also, and everything like that. Why Scandinavian pain? What is this pain that you have that you want to talk about to the world?
So let's. It's obviously it's a long explanation. I will try to make it short, but let's start with exactly that point. Because Denmark and Finland is battling every single year of being the happiest country in the world.
Yeah.
One year it's Denmark, the other year it's Finland.
Exactly.
But what's interesting with that statistics is that it's not telling that Denmark is also the country in the world that does the most antidepressants per citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's obviously a lot of different, like there's two sides to the story, right?
Yeah,
and I think the whole point with Scandinavian Pain is exactly what you're mentioning, that we are from a very privileged part of the world. We're from a very wealthy, healthy part with like great society systems, and free healthcare, and school is free. We even get paid for going to university. Like
Wow.
everything like looks and seems so great. But we're also standing on the shoulders of great, not great in the sense of good, but like big, slavery past and colonial times. There's a lot of shame and guilt built in with being Scandinavian. It can be very, very heavy-hearted, and you can have a lot of like pain towards the world and suffering because of what the Western civilization, and especially countries like Scandinavia, are having their great systems now because of a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling sometimes can be very heavy to carry around. And I think the mix of that, and then also that there is like so many people that are so heavily depressed here. Sometimes you can also have a really hard time feeling allowed to even be depressed when things should be this great.
Yeah.
Because they're not always great,
It's like a sword before in your head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And in your heart.
And in your heart.
So it can be very tough. And this is also one of the reasons why it was very important for me, at least personally, that it was Scandinavian pain. Because this could be translated into, this is also European pain or Western pain. But the very, or Danish pain, it could have been that. But it's like a common phenomenon in Scandinavia to feel this way about the world, and also, that, again, the guilt and not feeling that you're allowed to even be depressed.
And Rasmus, why do you think is that? Why the health authorities, why they think like that, or why the society looks for someone that is depressed? Because it's normal. When we are not okay, we have to put it out. We cannot put it in because it's worse. Why do you think they look at these people like that?
It's because within mental illness in Denmark, at least, I don't know if it's exactly the same in Norway and Sweden, but I could only imagine it would be the same. But in Denmark, mental illness is with a heavy load on the word illness. It's considered, that you're like sick in the head.
Yep.
So we're not able to actually speak so openly about, feeling this bad. And plus, with our great healthcare system in Denmark, the interesting thing is that we don't have free therapy. We don't have free psychologists
Really?
sessions. No, that's not part of our healthcare system. You know, like you have to pay, and actually a lot of money to go to a psychologist or
Yeah.
a psychiatrist in Denmark. It's very,
Never
very.
thought that. I never crossed my mind. I thought it was normal for you because here in the southern of Europe, you know that how do you say, we have a very masculine society, guys, and we have a very with the church, a very religious society, and if you are not okay, why don't you go to the church? If you are not okay, why don't you go to the pub? If you are not okay, why don't you whatever? But when I say to someone, if you're not okay, please go to a doctor, speak to him. Oh, but I'm not crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
uh, it's pretty much the same. It's very difficult for everybody to speak a little bit more about mental issues. Theis, do you think it's because of the I was speaking about the male society, but is the same in Denmark? Do you feel this the same?
I don't know if I guess we're a traditionally male-dominated country, but we also, as Danes, have a tendency to, you know, not submerge, but suppress
Yeah.
our feelings. We're not, as you Southern people are more
Yeah.
like, oh, you
Yeah.
know, it's more common that we swallow not the pride, but any issues and don't want to burden people with it. And that's my own. And I'm just gonna stand here in the corner and think
Okay.
about this for myself. And that will build up to some point, and you, like you mentioned, you need to get it out. You need to let it be heard, and not let it grow in silence inside of you. And I think that's also one of the backsides of being a Dane, is that it's more common to just suffer in silence. And fortunately, it's become more accepted. There's still a long way, but it's been
Hmm.
people are better to be vocal about it, and
Do you
it's
think
gaining.
do you think young people are more open to speak about these problems?
Yeah,
Okay.
they. I don't think they have the same, not to the same extent as older generations. They don't have the same stigma,
Yeah.
but we're still not in the clear. Like Osmos mentions, it's still stigmatized, and it's still, it's not something you get free mental health care.
Mental health.
So there's still a ways to go, but it's for sure been brought into the light,
Hmm.
and now the battle is fought to keep it there, and make it more accepted,
Hmm.
and deal with it.
And deal with it. With this album is kind of your
If I can
contribution. Yeah, yeah.
if I can add to
Of
Theis's,
course.
because this goes back to the album, because
Yeah.
what's really interesting with the metal community, or at least in Denmark, and I know that this is the case in other parts in Europe. Within the metal community, there is a lot of people that feel like misfits, and there is a lot of people that struggle with mental issues. And what's so fucking great and cool about the metal community is that we take care of each other and we look after each other and we create a community that is a space and it's safe to talk about these certain subjects.
Yeah.
A lot of bands has done this in the past, and Scandinavian Pain is no exception, but we are very clear about that we want to help people with this album. And it also says on the physical vinyl that if there's any of these things in the lyrics that you can relate to, like on your own life, please go and talk to people. Please go seek help,
Mm.
because of, like what we're singing about in this album is very heavy stuff. And it's if there's any of this, like just even like the smallest grain, like please consider
Hmm.
uh, professional help, because that's what we are able to do in the metal community. And what I find so dear and great about playing in a metal band and being part of the metal community is that we have that thing going on.
There's no shame.
What's that?
There's no shame.
Oh, no, no. You can be whoever you want, and that includes also being transparent and
Yeah.
fragile about what you're
Yeah.
dealing with.
Yeah. Who wrote the lyrics?
That guy.
I imagine so. Rasmus.
Rasmus is actually the main architect of a lot of the things that both visually and lyrically happens on this record, and yeah.
It was hard for you to write these lyrics, Rasmus, because
Um,
there are 9 songs. I think it was not easy for you to write 9 songs so strong in lyric. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it wasn't hard doing it. I think the most the hardest thing is, as a Danish person, is writing something about what's going on in your personal life, and
Yeah.
then knowing that it's going to be released out like publicly for people who don't know me
Yeah.
to read. Like that's the only thing that can be kind of intimidating, terrifying. But apart from that, it's been super therapeutic. It's been exactly what I wanted it to be in so many ways. Like, and
And
this is also what metal is able to, you know,
mm,
it's pure pathos.
yeah.
You can use this in a therapeutic way, and we've done that with this album for sure.
And how do you feel now that the album is almost coming out with that exposure of your thoughts and some parts of your life to the world? Are you more calm with that? In peace, if I may
Yeah,
say?
yeah. I think actually to me, because this is it's a bit different from when other bands talk about like suicidal thoughts or
Yeah.
like being depressed, because this time around it's very solution based. It's very based on like, you know, going through a period in your life, or like maybe still be in that period, but then also come in with like some kind of solution, or answer or idea to how to fix this issue. It's kind of like I've been there, done that, you know, like please don't do the same, or we're here to help sort of thing. So actually, I'm just looking forward really to release the album, you know. So, and I hope not that we're like three messiahs is walking around like with, you know, like this is not the universe speaking. This is three insignificant dudes from Copenhagen, Denmark, that had something at heart that they wanted to share. And hopefully, there are going to be some people out there that can use it in that way. And if not, they just have a really crushing doom record.
But you know, sometimes the universe comes speak to us with the different languages, and music. It's one of of those languages, and you are part of the universe. I believe it. So when you speak to me like today about this, and when I hear your songs, I think it's the universe telling me something, because I choose to hear you and you choose to talk to me about this. So it's very important. Okay?
Yes, yeah, no, I agree.
With this beer and your hair, Messiah's okay. Messiah's okay.
Oh, you haven't even seen the third guy yet. He's the pretty one of us, you know.
No, the 3 are very pretty guys. No, 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 no. I have to ask you another thing, because the cover of the album, it's pretty cool. Um, I already know a little bit about that dog, but I want you to, I suppose Rasmus will speak about, or Theos, I don't know, to speak a little bit more about this dog that is so. I don't know. The only word for me is in Portuguese. Is so, I know, overwhelming. No? Talk to me about this dog.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, I've always been very happy about the symbolism within the black dog and the meaning behind it. In like the it's actually it's like a slang, urban slang, word from England mainly. And there is the old English folklore about the hellhound, the bearer of bad news, ill intentions, and you know, a bad omen, like a dog from hell, pretty much, roaming around graveyards. So that's like that's pretty cool. Used in Sherlock Holmes as well. That's where the cover is from, old
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes book. But I like that there's two sides to the black dog, because it was also used as a term for example, Winston Churchill used it a lot as a term for depression and suicidal thoughts and anxiety. He would talk about when the black dog would come visiting. So I really like there's such a strong message within the term the black dog. And that image I tried to draw a lot of different covers with a dog and being like a black dog and making it look, but I didn't want it to look like too vicious, I didn't want it to be like this devilish satanic hellhound, because that would take away the very important part and the very important second meaning of the black dog, where that picture from this book cover was just perfect, I would say. And luckily the guys agreed to the picture. So yeah. So I guess in a short version of it, that's why.
Theus, you didn't thought, I want a pink dog, not a black one.
No, I work in a very opposite way than Rasmus. Rasmus has like a million ideas a day, and I need to be shown something in order to get ideas. So, and when Rasmus introduced the idea, it made perfect sense. As well as the remaining artwork for the record, great ideas, a lot of Easter eggs on the physical release,
Really?
and just very nice, well thought out. And like another main point that was with this album cover was to create something or have something that would make you stop when you're browsing records and like, oh, what's this? Something interesting, like you did in the old days when you were browsing records. This looks cool. I need to listen to it because the cover is badass looking. So, and I think Rasmus achieved that very, very well.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All the 9 songs of the album are very direct, right in the stomach, okay? Right in the head. And also the names. Don't let the fuckers get you down. I won't. Do you think everybody will feel the same I do?
I mean, I hope. It's something different to start a metal record with.
Yeah.
But so far the response when doing interviews has been very good. And it's going to be interesting. Actually, a fun thing, when we did the record, we showed Napalm Records one song that was Taurus, and then we had like a pre-production version of, I think it was Dead Lover or something.
Yeah.
And that's all they heard of the record. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Just let's have it at this and this date, and then everything is good. And then so they didn't know that we had a Don't Let the Fuckers Get You Down, and that we had a Hunap Coup or Eating Grapes with Kevin Sharp.
Yeah.
So when the record was submitted after mastering and all that, we didn't know if they were going to be like, guys, that's not good, or where's the rest of the songs or anything. But the response was very, very good, and they were totally on board. But that was a bit nerve-wracking because you're like, well, they don't know what's coming, but it turned out good.
Rasmus, talk to me about this.
Yeah, and I think following up on what Theis is saying, what's funny with this is that we've already signed a contract with Napalm before they heard the album, so it's like, joke's on you, Napalm, if you don't like it.
That's nice.
We the only promise that we had to make was it 40 minutes of music? And we made that mark.
Yeah, it was 40 minutes of music, and then Sebastian said he didn't want 40 minutes of music if he didn't want us to take a bucket and fart down in the bucket and record it. he
Yeah.
said. But other than that, you have, pretty much, free range.
Freedom to do.
Yeah. So actually, on one of the last days of recording, we sent him a picture of a bucket with a mic in it.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
He got
Rasmus,
yeah.
talk to me. What do you mean with this song, Castle of Purity? Because we can go around and around and go so many ways with this song. What does it mean?
The song or the title?
Both.
Right. So the title is from an old Italian movie of the same title from the 60s. I think it's 62 or 65. Which is this old story about a Christian family who not abducted, but pretty much kidnapped kids to then like have them in their home and raise them the Christian way and not letting them see the world. And and in their head they were doing a good thing, a good deed of God, but obviously like kidnapping people and imprisoning them and only showing them the Christian way is not very good for a kid. No. In my opinion, at least. So I think like with the title, actually Castle of Purity was the working title for the album to begin with. Yeah. So I think like thematically we wanted to be like Castle of Purity, like the song Castle of Purity, but then like obviously moved in like a lot of different directions and came up with something much greater. And I think with the song itself, it's definitely it has elements of what the movie is also about lyrically, but obviously it's also taken it to a greater scale because you can translate the idea of taking if we say the mind instead of kids being imprisoned into a house. Yeah. That's pretty much also like what Western propaganda is doing right now with us and like with also the warfare and like with the world leaders we have right now, especially in the West. And you mentioned a guy earlier we should send some bad wine to. Of course. Yeah, those kind of people we're trying to address with this song, for sure.
And Grim Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grim Jesus is pretty much in the same vein. Those two songs are probably the most related songs on the whole album. Because that's Grim Jesus. It's actually gonna come out very soon as a single. Nice. And it's about obviously religious manipulation.
Do you think it's a problem in our time? I think it is. So let's speak clearly, okay?
Yeah, no, the Christianization of Europe is a huge issue and has divided the world in great, like scales beyond what is now like humanly salvageable. Because we're now fighting other religions that we would not have like it within, like, for example, the Danish society, we wouldn't have issues with other religions if it wasn't for Christianity. We wouldn't have these kind of, like religious wars or cultural wars if it wasn't for the Christianization of Europe and also Denmark.
Yeah. And this is not good for mental health too.
No.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Theis, which song it's harder for you to sing?
On this record,
yeah.
I don't know. I've been struggling a bit because, like I mentioned earlier, Rasmus came up with a lot of the ideas, and most of my parts are his creations. So I haven't not many of the things I haven't done it before a lot before we recorded it. So practicing and getting ready for shows and stuff, there was a reprogramming of the brain to get everything right. So I'm getting there, but there was I think Grim Jesus was tricky because we're doing in the first two choruses we're doing it one way, and then on the third we're flipping it, and the brain didn't translate well. But it's getting there.
Do you sing to your wife to rehearsal and to practice?
Yeah. Yeah, we try it, but for example, Grim Jesus always failed, and I would look at Rasmus, be like, "Oh, damn it," and he would be like, "Yeah, I heard it. I heard it."
Well,
I did.
Theis, the question was if you ever sing to your wife.
Oh, to my wife? No.
Yeah, yeah.
She asks
To
me.
practice, to practice.
No, she asks me to do so, but
Are
I
you
feel,
afraid that she's run away?
yeah, and I feel very self-conscious when doing it. But when I'm in the rehearsal space, it's very different.
It's very different. Yeah, I imagine so. I imagine so.
Yeah.
Um, when you released the album before, you released two videos for Taros and Dead Lover. Why did you choose these two songs to show what the album was kind of to the audience?
I think with Taurus, that was an easy one because Taurus was actually made a year or a year and a half before we even wrote Scandinavian Pain, and we actually did that music video before even signing with Napalm Records. So that was kind of a no-brainer, that had to get out anyways, and it was ready. But actually, it turned out to our favor in the sense of that Taurus is such a good representation of the new KATLA sound. So that was such a good first single because it's so different from all the other stuff that we've done. And what's interesting with Dead Lover, and because that was the second one that we like chose like as an a conscious choice. And with Dead Lover, I think it was important for us to show that this record is very different. Like it's like the songs are obviously similar, but they have their own lives and their own personalities. And Dead Love is so different from Taurus. So I think for us it was just important to show people that Scandinavian Pain is going to have stuff like Taurus, but it's also going to have stuff like Dead Lover.
Yeah.
They're like very like in their own corners of the spectrum.
It's kind of two different doors to the album, right? You can enter here and hear this, and you can enter here and hear that. It's pretty cool. So everybody knows kind of what they're going to find, but they didn't find everything because there are 7 songs to discover, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now you are going on a tour.
Well, which
not.
tour are you referring to?
You are not going on a tour now in Europe, no.
We're actually supposed to be on a tour. If all went down well, we would be in Leiden in Netherlands right now. But
Leiden tonight, yeah.
Unfortunately, the Ukrainian government had a different idea.
Of course.
Because of the guy who needed the sour wine. So we actually made it all the way to the first venue of the tour.
Yeah.
Some weeks ago on the 28th of February, 27th February, and then was told tours off.
I didn't know that.
Oh no, it's fairly new, but the 1914 had their travel visas revoked the same week, and the final decision after having multiple attempts of getting that
the visa to come out, Theis? The visa to come out from Ukraine?
Yes, exactly. That was revoked, and they tried every Hail Mary they could pull.
Yeah.
And finally on Thursday, the first day of the tour, they were told it's not going to happen. And when we got to the venue, we finally got a hold of our booker, who was at a conference, and we're like, "So, is there a plan B? What can we do?"
There wasn't plan B.
There were no plan B. It was just, "Sorry, guys, pack up and go home."
That's not cool.
That was quite a hard one to swallow. It was devastating to hear about 1914. Rasmus got a call from the lead singer Dimitro telling us about their situation, and he was heartbroken and just in tears about, and having that, and then being told the whole tour is called off. That put that set the mood for the day.
Yeah, I imagine so. You don't have anything programmed for now.
Not tour wise. We have fortunately, we have some things for the summer, some festivals. We still have something in the works that hasn't been made official yet. And we have a booking agency that is working on finding some replacement, but unfortunately, they cannot pull a rabbit out of the hat and give us something right now. On top of the release of the album, we'll manage. We're not in the same situation as 1914. So
no, that's the thing.
Yeah, let's hope it will be everything okay for them.
Yeah.
Any chance of coming to Portugal? Guys, come. Spend the weekend here.
Yeah.
Sing in the beach. We tell everybody. Everybody will come.
We were supposed to play Portugal 2 years ago, actually. A couple of shows like Spain and Portugal. So we know that our booking agency is definitely aware of that it would be a great market for us to explore. So it will happen in the near future for sure.
Yeah,
Portugal.
We'll be waiting for that.
Yeah. Also,
I will be in the front line, with a bottle of wine.
Yes, yeah, good. Yeah, because that's also something that we also tell our booking agency. Like we're aware of how good Portuguese wine is, so therefore, obviously.
That's so cool. Rasmus Theers, it was absolutely great to have you here, and the album is fantastic. I really like it, and you are very cool guys with a very great mind, and it's important for everybody in the world that has a depression to speak out and to tell everything that we need to tell. If you want to hear it, okay. If you don't want to hear it, okay also, but I have to tell it.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Sure. It's been a great pleasure, great honor. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
In Portugal, we always end our talks with a beijinho. So, I'm going to send a beijinho for you both. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was great to have you here.
It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.